Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I've been waiting for the update 44 patch to hit consoles before I make this one on Arcanist because Arcanist was getting quite a few big changes. And this build sort of is an attempt to circumvent those big nerfs to Arcanist's defensive abilities. So before we get into the build details, let's just quickly go over what's changed. So the two big changes with Arcanist are in its two health-based defensive abilities. So the first change is to the Impervious Rune Ward ability, where if you look at the base morph here, it gives you a 7k shield for 6 seconds, scaling off your max health. The Impervious Rune Ward now gives you a 15k damage shield for 1 second, and then a half strength damage shield for 5 seconds after that. Whereas previously this used to be a 15k shield for 1 second, and then its original shield strength, the 7.4k damage shield for 5 seconds thereafter. So it means that you still get the big damage shield for 1 second, but then the shield after that is terrible. So that's change number one. So on this build, instead of using the Impervious Rune Ward shield, we'll be using the Spite Ward of the Lucid Mind, and the gameplay that you've seen in the earlier clips and at the end of the video will have been with the Spite Ward of the Lucid Mind, which actually is a pretty good skill, because essentially what happens is when you cast this with 3 Crux, you get the skill almost completely refunded. So you can use this very, very frequently as a big burst heal and also a decent 7.4k shield as well. The other change that we're seeing is to the morph of Runic Defense. So Runic Defense gives you minor resolve for 20 seconds, it gives you minor protection for 20 seconds, and while active the first time you fall below 50% health, the minor protection is consumed and you get healed for a big, juicy, nearly 15k heal, which scales up your max health. However, the PvP morph of this, the Rune Guard of Freedom, now only gives you a half strength heal when you fall below 50% health. This used to be the same strength as previously, but now it's only 7.2k healing, and you get 3k armor and you get CC immunity for 7 seconds, which are both very good, but you're missing out quite a bit on the heal here. So instead we are going with the Rune Guard of Still Waters, which maintains the heal strength at nearly 15k, and also after 1 second immobilizes all enemies within 7 meters. So yeah, that's essentially what's changing with Arcanist. Our build is a max health scaling build, so we've pumped all of our points into max health. We're sitting just shy of 40k. Having put all of our points into health, we are an Imperial, and we are a non-vampire running the Smoked Bear Haunch and running the Lover Mundus for our penetration. The way to look at Arcanist now is essentially we need to figure out a way of making our defenses as strong as they were, or somewhere towards that, while still maintaining damage. And the way I've gone about that is I've tried to obtain damage from sources that are independent of our weapon and spell damage. We haven't invested very heavily in our weapon and spell damage, and instead we obtain quite a good pressure damage through other sources, which still allows us to build into our defense. So I've gone for set pieces that are giving me max health and armor and survivability, and then obtaining damage from other sources. So just getting onto the sets, on the front we are running Hrothgar's Chill. This is a 5-piece PvP set that drops from Cyrodiil. It gives us max health on the 2-piece, armor on the 3-piece, pen on the 4-piece, and the 5-piece, when we stun or immobilize an enemy, we cause a big 8-meter burst, which deals chilled status effect, and also does a guaranteed 13% of their total physical and spell resistance as frost damage to themselves and enemies. This can't be blocked, it can't be dodged, and it ignores spell resistance. So this is it's a very strong effect, because we get guaranteed immobilize with both our Rune Ward ability and also with our burst ability, Tentacular Dread, which I'll get onto in a moment. But this is really nice because you don't need to build into weapon and spell damage particularly high to still get a really respectable tooltip on this. And this combines with our burst skill, which on this class is Tentacular Dread, which has a decent sort of 13k tooltip when it's fully procced, which means that when we immobilize with our Tentacular Dread, we also get the Hrothgar's Chill as well. This is very nice in adding a bit of burst to our abilities. Our main body set that we're running is Torug's Pact. Now this is a craftable set. It's previously been more popular. It's not seen use for a wee while, but it's actually really, really strong in Arcanist. And this is why I call this character the Glyphic Knight, because we get a lot of our damage from our weapon damage enchants. So Torug's Pact, it gives us armor on the 2-piece, max health on the 3-piece, another line of armor on the 4-piece, and then it decreases our weapon enchantment cooldown by 33%, and it increases the weapon potency by 45%. As you can see here, between Torug's Pact and Hrothgar, we're not wasting any 2, 3, or 4 pieces. Whereas, for example, if you were to run something like, I don't know if I've got it handy here, but if you were to run Heartland Conqueror, that has quite a lot of wasted potential on the 2, 3, and 4 piece. Whereas with Hrothgar and Torug's Pact, we are getting all the nice defensive bonuses that we like. So just to cover that quickly, so we're running Hrothgar on the front bar, we're running Torug's Pact on the body. So Hrothgar Lightning Staff on front bar, 1-piece Baron Thirsk, which gives us stamina and magical recovery as the single 1-piece head. Hrothgar Cuirass Reinforced Tristat, Pauldron's Impen Tristat, Torug's Pact Sash, Impen Tristat, Impen Tristat Gloves, Impen Tristat Greaves, Impen Tristat Shoes, and then Hrothgar Swift Amulet, Torug's Pact Infused Ring, and then we're using Malakat's Band of Brutality to increase our damage done by 16% while reducing our crit damage done by 50%. So essentially we're just building into a lot of different pieces that augment our glyph damage and our outgoing damage in general without really having to invest very much into critical chance or into weapon and spell damage. And then on the back bar we are running 2 pieces of the Black Rose set, which buffs our Blade Cloak. And we're running Infused on both of these pieces, so a poison damage enchant on the back bar, a disease damage enchant on the back bar, and then our front bar enchant is a shock damage infused, which keeps up our glyph very frequently. So the natural cooldown for a damaging glyph such as shock damage, disease damage, or poison damage is 4 seconds. Running an Infused reduces that down, and then running it with Torug's Pact reduces it down to just under 2 seconds, which means that every second light attack on our front bar is guaranteed to deal our 6.4k shock damage enchant. Now, the glyph strength doesn't scale with our weapon or spell damage, it's fixed, so we can build tanky, we can put all of our points into health, and we still get a very reliable, regular pressure damage with the enchant. And the beauty of running Blade Cloak on the back bar is, while we've got this active, Blade Cloak ticks every 2 seconds, which means that, like clockwork, as long as we're in melee range, even if we're on our front bar, we're triggering our poison and our disease damage enchant every 2 seconds. So that, plus the shock damage from our light attacks on the front bar, means that we actually put out a lot of consistent damage. So here we are at the armory. So yeah, so lightning staff front bar, dual daggers in the back bar. You can run daggers or you can run swords. You don't need weapon or spell damage. You don't need penetration or crit damage on the back bar. So daggers or swords are fine, whatever you have available. Now let's get onto our skills. So on our back bar, we are running the Rune Guard of Stillwaters. As I've mentioned before, this is the morph to use now to retain that big heal. Keep this up every 20 seconds. It's really important because it is your sort of emergency heal, which you've pre-placed in case your health gets low. If your health is under 50%, you can repeatedly cast this, and the heal will repeat. So that's quite handy. Quick Cloak is our main mobility source, and it also procs our back bar enchants while we're on the front bar. This is really important. Spectral Cloak is also quite a nice buff as well. So every time Blade Cloak deals damage, we get 6% increased damage done and 6% reduced damage taken, which is fairly significant. So between the Blade Cloak, between the Malakath, so that's 22% damage done, and then our fully buffed Tentacular Dread on the front bar, which increases the enemy's damage taken by 11%. We're doing almost 33% extra damage to our targets just between those things. Next skill on the back bar is the Spite Ward of the Lucid Mind. This is our health scaling damage shield and our health scaling burst heal. Cast this when you've got 3 Crux up and the cost is almost completely refunded, and it gives you a nice juicy nearly 15k heal, and yeah, a decent damage shield as well. This makes you incredibly tanky. We're running Evolving Runement on the back bar for 2 reasons. One, it's a way for us to defensively generate Crux. So if we're taking a lot of pressure on the back bar, we can cast Evolving Runement 2 or 3 times and then cast Spite Ward of the Lucid Mind, and we can repeat that just to keep ourselves alive. It also, because it's a curative runeform skill, it's important to have this because while we've got this slotted, it increases the strength and reduces the cost of our damage shields by 10%. So that buffs both our Spite Ward of the Lucid Mind and also our Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea ultimate as well, which we'll talk about in a moment. Crux Weaver Armor is our main armor buff. It is fantastic because it not only generates Crux every time we're damaged, it also applies Minor Breach very reliably. So we've got Minor Breach up essentially 100% of the time. And then our back bar ultimate is our Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea. This is a selfish ultimate. It just gives us a big damage shield that allows us to survive incredible amounts of damage. And if people keep attacking into you while you've got this up, you will then also have a nice strong AoE dot around you as well for 10 seconds after it expires. This is really just our oh crap ultimate when we're being zerged down and we just need to survive for a couple of seconds to get around a corner or to retaliate against a weak target. So yeah, this isn't cast particularly often, but it's useful to have active nonetheless. Our front bar ultimate is Dawnbreaker of Smiting. You can also run the Tide King's Gaze. These are both good. Dawnbreaker is nice because it gives that extra bit of burst. If your Hrothgar's Trail is off cooldown as well, you can also stun a target with the Dawnbreaker, and it also then will trigger your Hrothgar's Trail as well. So it's it's an effective ability to have on the front bar. It also gives us a little bit of extra weapon and spell damage as well. Recuperative Treacy. This is our source of Major Brutality and Sorcery. We have this on the front bar because we want to pack as many Herald of the Tomb skills on the front bar because of this passive here, Splintered Secrets. We get 1k pen essentially for every one of these abilities that we have on the front bar, and we've got 3. If you run the Tide King's Gaze, you will have 4, so that goes up to nearly 4k, which is significant, but I still prefer to have Dawnbreaker here on the front bar. Next skill is Elisas for our Major Breach. Escalating Rune Blades is our main spammable. Now, we can, because we're running a lightning staff on the front bar, we can use this at range. Unfortunately, it's only got 22 meters range, so it's not a true ranged ability like Force Pulse, for example. But what's really nice about this is it does decent damage. It does a bit of AoE cleave. It does more damage for every Crux that we have active. And we cast this twice, and then we use our Tentacular Dread, which is the other morph of the Flail ability. And this is essentially our main burst ability. It does a decent amount when you're fully buffed. It does about 13k damage. But the main thing here is that it does more damage for every Crux that you have active. And it also causes targets to take extra damage from you for every Crux that you hit them with. So if you hit a target with this with 3 Crux active, they'll be taking 11% extra damage, 5% base, and then an additional 6% for having 3 Crux. And that also applies to your Glyphs as well. So we're essentially looking for as many ways to boost the damage of our damaging Glyphs. And between the Spectral Cloak, between the Malakath's Band of Brutality, between the shock damage enchant giving very regular minor vulnerability and the tentacular dread. That's how we can keep up that consistent damage on our targets. And then finally, we're using Dazing Soul as our stun. We're doing this with the stun, the Anchorite's Cruelty to give an Oblivion damage dot on the target, and also with Major Defile as well, which is very effective at reducing the target's healing ability. And once you get a target down and you've hit them with this, oftentimes they just can't heal past the regular damage that you're putting out with your regular enchants firing on the front bar and the back bar. So yeah, very effective there as well. Moving on to our character sheet, let's just have a quick look at where we are. So on the front bar, we're sitting at nearly 11k pen without any major breach or minor breach. So with that in consideration, we've regularly got 20k pen on this build, which is amazing, which means that we're penning completely most targets. On the front bar, we don't have the best recoveries, but on the back bar, we've got excellent recoveries, especially if we drink a potion. We're sitting at an incredible amount of magicka and stamina recovery. And that's because for every soldier of Apocrypha skill that we've got, we get an additional 129 health, magicka, and stamina recovery on the back bar. So we are running 4. We're running 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that when we are on the defensive, we can out-sustain our attackers quite effectively. The weapon damage isn't anything to write home about, but and neither is the crit chance, but the important thing here is we don't need really high weapon damage. We don't really need very high critical chance or critical damage to do consistent pressure with our glyphs and burst with our tentacular dread, because we've got really high pen and we've got really high damage done bonuses and damage received bonuses on our enemy. On the back bar, we do sit at 28.8k spell resistance and 26.7k physical resistance, with nearly 2k crit resistance as well, which is really beefy. Alongside our 40k health pool and major evasion, it means that we can really hold our ground. Getting on to our champion points, so we are running Focused Mending to increase our healing from our 2 health-based heals. We're running Force of Nature, which gives us 660 pen for every status effect on the target. This is really good because we're triggering our back bar Poison enchant and our back bar Disease enchant really regularly, and we've got the Elemental Susceptibility skill on our target as well. Quite often the target will have 4 or 5 status effects on them all the time. So that is giving us nearly, over 3k pen, which is fantastic, which translates really well into our burst and really well into our damage with the glyph as well. Then we're running Master Arms, which also boosts our glyph damage, and this is really important. So cutting defense. Whenever we're hit by a direct damage attack within 7 meters, we deal a small amount of magic damage back, but we also can proc our weapon enchants with this. So even when we're kiting and targets are hitting us, we're still doing damage back to them with our massive Torug's infused glyphs. So this is really important. Run this. If you're not running any of the others, definitely run this, because this means that we're putting out that consistent damage even when we're not able to get our light attacks off all the time. And then in the red tree, we're running Sustained by Suffering for a bit more recovery, Pain's Refuge, Bastion to increase our shield size and also our shielded damage, and celerity as well. You can drop Sustained by Suffering if you're finding that you're over-sustaining. You can run something like Fortified or even something like Extra Health just to get over the 40k mark. It's really up to you. Anyway, I'll have some more clips just following this. There'll be clips from the old 4v4v4 battlegrounds rather than the new ones, because I wanted to get some clips before the MMR reset, so I wasn't just facing PvE players for these clips. But I'm running these particular morphs in anticipation of the changes to Arcanist, so it should be an effective representation of how Arcanist is going to do in this next patch. Anyway, thanks for watching. Any questions, post them below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.